Ladies and gentlemen.
From Germany, broadcasting to the world and beyond. You're listening to the Hardcore Sales Show. We talk, you listen. This is your host, Lily Mazzani, presenting to you the most interesting guests about sales and personal development. Stay tuned.
Let's get on with the show.
Welcome to a new episode, Hardcore Sales with Osama, and he's the CTO of Cisco in Saudi Arabia. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much, Osama, for taking the time, for being here with us. I know you are very busy, so I really appreciate you take the time. Please go ahead and introduce yourself to us.
Lily, thank you so much for inviting me. Absolutely great pleasure to be with you and your audience today. My name is Osama AlZoubi. I am the Cisco CTO for the region, Africa, and the Middle East. I lead the engineering organization as well as innovation team in the region. I have been in the field for quite some time, almost near a quarter of a century, 25 years plus in the field. A lot of it in technology, a lot of it in sales, a lot of it actually working with customers, partners, and doing the transformation, if you will, and trying to impact and deliver on our customers' business priorities, business outcomes, and supporting them in addressing and solving their challenges. So I'm really glad to be with you here, Lily, today, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. What I found impressive about your vita was you come from originally from Syria. You studied in the US. Now you're based in Saudi Arabia. So what happened? Like what's the deal here? Like when did you go to the US? You studied and had like a very impressive career. So please share with us what you did and what do we have to do if there is somebody listening and watching? What does that person have to do to become a CXO, whatever, like C-level in such a large organization and having so much impact just like yourself? What do we have to do? What are the steps?
Well, I think if I had the success formula, I probably would be now very rich, but I will be more than happy to shed some light and share some experiences. Hopefully the audience can find some benefit in it. Yes, indeed, I was born in Syria and I am very proud Syrian originally. I came actually at a very early age in my life here to the country of Saudi Arabia, whom I love and enjoy living in and working in and supporting as well. After I completed my high school, I went to the US for a study and I stayed there for quite some times actually. I did my Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering in the University of Illinois at Chicago. And then I did my Master's of Science in Computer Science in Illinois Institute of Technology. Now it's called Illinois Tech. I also worked in the US for about probably a little bit over 10 years. I worked for a few companies there. One of them is Ameritech, now part of AT&T and other companies. And I joined Cisco as an engineer, systems engineer in Chicago a while back, I would say, without disclosing the number of years. And I love Cisco. I enjoy working for Cisco. I had an opportunity to move back to Saudi Arabia. And I have been in Saudi Arabia for over 15 years, and I have enjoyed working in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and witnessing the transformation that the country is leading on, from building the IP infrastructure and expanding the broadband all the way to the current digital transformation where Saudi Arabia today is leading the world in many fronts when it comes to technology transformation, digital economy, etc. I think without a doubt, these kind of phases in my life, career, academic life, as well as work life, have had many ups and downs. But I think what has been consistent is the joy that I have had in working for those multiple companies. Of course, one of the biggest highlights in Cisco, which I enjoy working, and the work that we do every day that has impact on the lives of humanity at large, as well as our customers. And maybe we can, throughout the conversation, we'll shed some light on that. But without a doubt, I think one of the biggest joy that I have had is working here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and seeing and witnessing the transformation and almost doing the impossible, and what the kingdom has done through its vision, as well as through its persistency, as well as consistency in overcoming the challenges and creating this wave of transformation across every single industry almost.
That's amazing. I've heard this. I mean, I know that over the past, I don't know, decades, Saudi Arabia has been doing so much progress in, let's say, every regard, like every perspective, no matter if it's IT or humanity or whatever it is. Like, they invested so much into their own society and infrastructure. That's amazing. So what are the skills that somebody has to bring along to become a CXO? What do you think, looking back so far, what's the reason why you are where you are? Like, what are the skills that people have to bring to be able to have such an amazing career, just like yourself?
So me being from an engineering discipline, I like to break things down in order for us to really have, I think, a meaningful conversation. For me, the career I have had is really built on 4 pillars, right? Pillar number 1 is around the technology. I love technology. I am extremely passionate about technology, and I guess we'll have a chance to talk about that. Back then, when I started in the technology and the love that I had for the machines that were able to help us as human in many tasks back then, when I started my college, the love I have had for those, for the computers and the machines have been developed and ever since been growing. So that we'll talk maybe more about that a little bit later. So the first pillar is technology. And the second pillar is business. To me, business is a key pillar for technologists. Why? Because while some technologists are very passionate about technology for the sake of technologies, the majority are not passionate about technology for the sake of technology. They are passionate about technology only when it and if it solves their business needs and business requirements. So the more we technologists understand the business challenges, business priorities, and how to deliver on business outcome, the more we become relevant to that business. And therefore, the second pillar that helped me tremendously in the role I do and evolving and growing my career was around really understanding the business and business requirement. The third pillar is really people. And don't take these pillars as priorities first and second, but people has been extremely key and core to the growth of leaders in Cisco, but also in other organizations. To us, people play probably the most critical and important role as we deliver on our requirement as well as objectives within the organization. And again, maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit there. And the final pillar is around innovation, creativity. We at Cisco, and I know that other organizations as well, give space to their employees to innovate, to be creative, to really take risk and try something new and do something differently, think out of the box, and really enjoy developing and growing different things. And those 4 pillars really have helped me tremendously in growing my career. So it's technology, business, people, and innovation.
What are your biggest leadership advice that you can share? Like, how big is your organization? Like, the people who report to you and your business unit?
Directly and indirectly, approximately around 200.
200. Okay. So how do you lead people? Like, what's the biggest advice you can share with us on leadership?
The biggest advice I can share on leadership, I think it's really to be human, right? Oftentimes, when we are caught in the speed of the business, the challenges of the business, the requirement we have, north, south, east, west, we forget that people work with people, and people buy from people, and people do business with people, but those people have beyond what you see, they also have, it's like the tip of the iceberg is beyond that, there is many other things that those humans have to deal with. And I think one of the biggest things that helped me with my team is really being close to my team, being human, understanding their own issues, challenges, personal life. And we take time regularly, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, where I try to understand the specific things that those team members live through on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes they have a lot of challenges that go in their personal life that sometimes leaders may not understand, given the the grand scheme of things and the challenges that they have to deal with and the priorities they have to deliver on day in and day out. And being human and really being close to the team and really understanding what their issues and challenges are and how you can help them. And sometimes it can be as simple as listening, because sometimes a lot of things are not solvable and a lot of things are not under our control, and sometimes we may not have that impact. But what I have found to be extremely effective is really just giving that listening ear and demonstrating empathy and really true relationship and true understanding of what they go through. And sometimes actually we at Cisco, the company also facilitate us with a lot of things that we can help our employees with. And I think this to me was one of the biggest thing that helped me throughout the leadership. And therefore I think, at least from my perspective, that no matter what I ask the team to do, they will definitely be happily doing it, because they feel that they have a leadership that understand what they go through and willing to support them within all the means that we have within the company as much as we possibly can.
So you work more than 10 years in the US and then many, many years in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
What's the biggest cultural difference, especially when it comes to sales? Like, I sometimes think, like, I'm originally from Iran. I have Iranian customers. Like, when we meet, first we sit down and have a proper chai. We talk, we build a relationship. Whereas when I talk to my, for instance, German clients, that's not the case. We sit and then we talk, and then we talk about business. It's like tack, 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 tack. Whereas with my Iranian customers or Turkish, it's like more like first welcoming, getting to know each other. So what's your personal experience in the differences in the cultures when it comes to sales or doing business with different regions in the world?
That's a very, very good question. Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, people buy from people, and the relationship aspects, I think, is universal. Regardless of which country you are, if your customers don't trust you, you're going to have unbelievably difficult job to do, no matter what your role is, whether your role is a sales rep, an engineer, a relationship manager, whatever it is. If there is no trust, the people that you deal with is going to be very, very difficult for you to have that kind of relationship, and you will not be able to achieve all the objectives you can. So on that front, I think it's probably very, very different. I think what I have seen, very, very the same on that front, where the human relationship is universal. I think it's very, very the same in both places. And by the way, in the Middle East and Africa, and the role I do is not really only in Saudi Arabia. So I work with many other countries. So I have seen also, due to my role, I have been exposed to a lot more culture. So we're working with a lot with African countries in the Sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa, here in the Gulf region, all the way as far as Pakistan. And I think that universality of the relationship is key. And therefore the trust is, in my view, the biggest glue that helps the sales rep in really delivering what they want. And I think, I want to maybe elaborate on that a little bit. What I have seen is, no matter how difficult the situation is, and believe it or not, we have a lot of difficult situation, and in many cases, a lot of great successes that we enjoy with the customer. And what I have seen is that honesty, integrity, trust with the customer helps no matter what the situation is, no matter how difficult the situation is, no matter how great the situation is, those remain to be constant. And I think those are universal, and those are the same with all the different countries that I have dealt with, all the way from the US to the region that I today work with and enjoy a lot of relationship with public sector as well as the private sector. However, I've seen, I think in terms of how decisions are being made, the decisions are being made, I think in the US, given that the way that customers are structured as well as the government is structured, I felt it's a lot more difficult to get decisions done in the US than it is in the region in general, but most importantly in the countries. I think in the countries I work with, like Saudi Arabia, like United Arab Emirates, like Qatar, like Kuwait, like Egypt, like South Africa, Turkey, and a few others, those countries have a lot more, in my view, a lot faster to decision making and a lot faster to yes or no in many of the projects. And the reason is those countries, as I mentioned earlier in the introduction around the transformation, they really mean business and they want to move as fast as they possibly can around the transformation. While historically, you see that a lot of decisions they go through a lot of, I would say, process for that decision to happen. And sometimes it really takes time. Although I think this might have changed over the past 10, 15 years. I don't know. But at least in the history, when I was
it
there,
has not changed. I think the Germans are the slowest society and decision makers ever. Like, for instance, when we sell B2B IT tech, like we have, like, let's say medium to large corporates, like medium-sized enterprises, large corporates, 2 years sometimes. Like, is it like that's the average sales cycle, 1 to 2 years? That's normal. Like, even if we do a small pilot project, minimum 6 months for an investment of 5, 10, 20,000 euros. It's not a significant investment for a large corporate in terms of budget and money, but it takes ages. Like, what's the average sales cycle for you, like when you sell your products and services? And I know Cisco has a lot of different products and services, but how is it for you?
I thank you for sharing your experience on that. So now it confirms that what has been happening historically hasn't changed much. I think Europe and the US has not really, I think, changed much, and they share a lot of similarity. I just wanted to share with you just some of the highlights on some of the sales cycles and engagement. We used to, in the private sector, operate at a certain speed, and that speed was very fast, right? And we used to deal with the public sector and government organization, and that pace of execution was slow. However, I can tell you that this is a phrase that we see almost with majority of the government that we deal with today, is that we in the private sector are not able to keep pace with the government organization in terms of the speed at which they want to execute. And I can tell you that this is really due to the vision that's set by the government, where now achievement and priority and accountability for almost every single project is reviewed regularly. Since we have started experiencing this digital transformation, I would say about anywhere between 8 to 10 years ago in the region, we see different governments are taking gigantic steps, if you will, towards achievement and a delivery on those specific objectives way faster than we are able to cope with. And I can tell you that, by the way, the projects that we talk about, and they're where I personally get engaged, we as Cisco, we deliver solutions from the smallest customers, which sometimes 1 to 5 employees in an office and or in a home office, all the way to the largest top organizations, the Fortune 500, if you will, globally, and everything in between. So we cover this entire spectrum of customers across the globe. And in some cases that projects time differ, but I want to share with you some experiences around the areas where I'm engaged. I engage normally on really the top and the biggest and largest accounts. And on average, customer decisions, and it's not really project by project, because sometimes the projects have phases and they have specific phase that needs to be accomplished within a specific time, sometimes anywhere between 3 to 6 months to 12 months. And again, we're talking about gigantic projects, not in the four figures that you spoke about, sometimes in much bigger, much larger, and those need to be accomplished and delivered in a very short time. In many cases, I can tell you that the decisions by the government officials have really pushed the limit of the private organizations, where in many cases we see them that are much faster than us, and the pace that they have adopted is way fast. And that's why today, all the things that you hear about, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as well as some of the countries in the region, that's why you see all of these accomplishments that truly have transformed and developed society.
I truly believe that 100%. Like, for instance, in Germany, if we do business with a public sector, it takes ages, because the public sector says we're refunding this with the taxes. And because these are taxes, we have to basically explain ourselves to the people who pay the tax. And so this is a big dilemma. It's too slow for myself personally, so I don't do any business with the public sector. I try to avoid it, really, because it's way too slow. Yeah. I wish it was more like having a lot of much more dynamic and pace behind that. I have a critical question. Is that okay if I ask you this?
Well, we'll see the question first. Let's see the question.
Okay. Do you have female account managers? Do you have women in sales in these countries? Because, like, for instance, in Germany, I can talk about Germany, in IT tech sales, we don't have many women in sales. Well, I remember when I was 25, like 13 years ago, when I started, I was like the only woman. Like, rarely I would meet a woman. I would sit in a meeting always with men. Only all decision makers were men. Now in Germany, we have experienced over the past few years a very heavy female empowerment movement. Women get promoted into C-level positions finally, and we do see a small change in the women who reach out to go into these tech IT sales rep positions, but still we're underrated. How is it like in the countries that you cover? Is it, let's say, a job that a woman would acquire and pursued and say, wow, this is cool? Or is it more like a male-dominated environment?
That's not a critical question.
I wasn't sure is this critical.
No, and thank you so much for asking it. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad you did ask it. So at some point in time today, first of all, today, as we speak, my manager, the person I report to in Cisco, is a female.
Very cool.
An accomplished female. And actually, you can probably look her up. But also at some point in time, I was actually reporting to a female who was reporting to a female who was reporting to a female, and then reporting to the CEO. We at Cisco have started this journey long time ago, the empowerment as well as the investment in the top talent in the industry around female empowerment. And we at Cisco, I think, take pride in terms of the amount of diversity that we have, but we have gone actually above and beyond, not only gender diversity, but even beyond that in terms of diversity that maybe we can talk about a little bit later. However, I think when it comes to the region, and like I told you, that although maybe at the Europe, US have started certain initiatives and certain transformation probably a while back. However, I can tell you that when this transformation started here, it has actually exceeded everything we know of. So let me just give you some example. I think in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we have seen probably the largest women empowerment that we have ever seen in any industry and or segment and or country. Just to give you an indication, we at Cisco have started a program that we called the Network Academy. The Network Academy, its intent, it's a nonprofit work that Cisco has been doing and investing in and we are doing this globally, worldwide. However, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we started this program a while back. I would say 10 years ago, we have accelerated this and put more investment into this. So today, as we speak, approximately about 38% of the graduate, 38% of the graduate from the networking academy are actually female. But more importantly, the people who actually train, the instructors who train in that, 25% of them are female. And therefore, when we start looking in general at the tech industry, women empowerment has been accelerated. And I think the countries have taken way bigger steps than Europe and the US when it comes to women empowerment in the region. But I think furthermore, when it comes to the sales organizations in Cisco, we have a lot of account managers, female, and they're actually doing a great job. And they are probably some of the highest achievers as well. But also in the engineering organizations that I lead, we also have a lot of females. Furthermore, I think we do have a program where quite a bit of engineers in the field, fresh graduate, where we invest and we evaluate them and we hire them, and then we put them onto the path of a professional career. A lot of those applicants as well as females. So this is definitely an industry that has been accommodating as well as welcoming to really general diversity. So we have gone, beyond the just the gender diversity. Also, we make sure that the environment we have is welcoming from whether the ethnic background, the religious background, the gender background, etc. So we try as much as we can to make sure that the environment is welcoming and hospitable to the different diversity that we see in the industry, and especially in the tech industry.
What are the changes that we can expect that AI will do in sales and in IT tech for us for the future of the work? What do you think will be the impact of AI?
Of course, you can't have a discussion without talking about AI, right? So
yeah, because you're the expert. Now I have time to talk to you. So I'm asking you everything that comes to my mind.
So I really want to take a moment to talk about AI between the critics and the hype, right? I mean, there is big, massive spectrum. Today, if you were to just put the 2 letters AI in any search engine, you're going to see massive amount of material across the board around like the hype where we are going to be dominated by robots and humanoids and so on, all the way to the critics who are saying that this is going to fail and it's not real and it's not implementable, etc., etc. But let's actually take a realistic view on the AI. AI, or the biggest umbrella, the field of artificial intelligence, has been in our lives, by the way, for quite some time at a different level, right? Anywhere from the little interaction that we do with search engines. I think everyone knows that sometimes when we try to type in the search engine, and sometimes it completes the sentences and or the phrases that we try to put, all the way to the impact that we have had on our lives across almost every single industry as well as every single segment. In sales, there is no exception, right? And I'm more than happy to share maybe on the technology front specifics around AI and maybe some of the examples as well as use cases where today AI is rising and it's actually impacting. But there is no doubt, just like with every technology, it depends on how you use it. It's, it brings its good and bad. But let's just focus on sales. Today, and actually in my book, I actually put a chapter I improvised, and I called the title of the chapter "The Human Machine," which is basically the human and the machine. And in that, what I try to describe is when we complement the power, the capability, the cognitive ability of human with the machine, limitless possibilities are initiated, and almost we can do the impossible. And when we look at when we as human adopted the machine, what we have managed to do the world, and today The machine that we speak about is basically this compute capability that is powered by machine learning with the data and the data sets that we are teaching it through. Now, massive world of possibility opens up. And therefore, when we start talking about the sales in particular, I think when we bring the capabilities, first of all, probably sales is one of those, I would say, jobs that are going to be powered, empowered, and accelerated by the machine, but machine will not eliminate them. Rather, to the contrary, it will actually complement them and probably will need them more. And I think organization like yours can help tremendously in building the skills and supporting the sales rep, all those who are starting their sales career, in how the use and the the leveraging of the machine capability can help them accelerate their sales capability. And I think the AI, the machine can and could and should, in my view, play a huge and big role in enabling and transforming the interaction between the sales representatives, salesmen, women, to their relationship with their customers. And as I mentioned earlier, I think the human touch in sales probably will never be eliminated. Call me old timer, but in many cases, I do like the frictionless sales, if you will. However, when it comes to critical decisions, I do prefer that human touch, that human interaction, that human, I would say, relationship that will help me in the final piece of the decisions. In the part where I do the majority of work, all those customers in Cisco, we call them basically the high touch customers, where we spend significant amount of time to build a relationship, to understand the customers at every possible level. We don't do blind sales. We actually do really intelligent sales, where we truly understand the people we're dealing with. We truly understand their priorities, what makes them successful. We understand what they do business, how they can be successful in their business. And we understand almost every single thing about that customer. And that what really help us tremendously in bringing the right solutions for them, not just a one size fit all, but rather one size only fit one, where we customize technology in a way that help them deliver on their own business outcome and solve their business challenges and deliver on their business priorities.
I fully agree. I think the human touch will never
go away
in sales.
Agreed.
Like, you can also call me old timer, old school, whatever, conservative, whatever you want to call it, because all decisions are made on an emotional basis. People might rationalize it and say, look, let me look at the facts and data. But at the end of the day, people buy, as you said, from people, and every decision that is made is based on emotions.
That's why I think, honestly, Lily, organizations like yours, I think plays tremendous role. I fundamentally believe in training and development. Earlier, you asked me what made me successful, if you consider me successful, if again.
100%.
I think what has helped me really enjoy what I do is really the continuous training, continuous learning, continuous development. Sometimes we get fooled that we know it all, we understand it all, and we mastered it all. But I can tell you that nothing could be more destructive to anyone than that thought. But rather, no matter how far we reach, no matter how many years of experience we have, we truly require continuous development, especially in sales. Because a lot of people, I think if you're in sales, and you are, and you hear this, they call them, street smart. Sometimes they call them, he or she has it by nature. Sometimes they tell you by default they are. However, I think no matter how good they think they are, no matter how successful they think they are, I believe fundamentally that organizations like yours, as well as development and continuous learning, can accelerate tremendously. So today, if they are 1x successful, they could potentially be 5x, 10x, 100x successful if they continuously focus on development. I heard a while back, and I really like to reference my information, but I really forgot, is that if you want to be continuously on top of your game, the summit of your success, you need to spend 10% of your income on your development. Now, I don't know whether people will do that, whether you're making $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month as an income, you should always try to allocate 10% of that to your development and learning and growth in terms of the mindset and how you learn. I don't know whether we can do that or not, but nevertheless, as close we get to that, as more powerful we become, and nothing more power than knowledge, education, learning, especially with a professional organization like yours, Lily.
Thank you. Well, I do that personally. I think I even do invest more than 10% time and money. Like I'm heading to India for 4 days training and I pay 15,000 euros plus flight and accommodation. So I'm going to end up for 4 days like 17 or 18,000. And this is only one training. Like every year, annually, I spend between 20 to 30K only for my own personal development. And so when large corporates tell me, well, we don't have the budget, I feel like, is this a joke? Like, what do you mean you don't have a budget? You have to train and develop your people because I mean, they're the ones who are out and about winning the game every day on a daily basis. So obviously they have to get trained. Anyways,
I want to give you an example. It's like, I want to travel long distance on an empty road, and I say I cannot fit the fuel in the tank because it's just too heavy. I think when organizations don't invest in their employees, which is probably the highest capital that any organization has, they are losing a lot more than they are gaining by not allocating the training budget. And I really think, I find that to be absurd, to be quite honest with you, because in many cases, I think if you were to search this, you probably will see that organizations spend probably more than 70% or beyond from their OPEX on their employee salary. And when those employees are not empowered to do their jobs in the best possible way, that means they are wasting a lot more than they are gaining. When they allocate this much budget to actually train and develop those employees, and they think they are actually saving, I think that's a massive, big mistake. Just like saying, you know what, I would like the car to be light because I just cannot afford to put the fuel in the tank. And ultimately, the car will not drive.
Sure thing, 100%. Last question. Ready? What was your biggest fuck up in sales dealing with a customer? Like your biggest mistake, you felt like literally dying and running away because you felt so embarrassed.
Oh my God, where am I going to get this? What is? I need to think about that. I had a lot of them, so I need to think about the biggest. What is it?
I find it funny that you say you quite had a few, like you had a lot.
Well, I've definitely had a lot. I have absolutely had a lot of them. I really think I have had a lot of them. I think I could have taken more risks in my career. I think I definitely, I think the biggest, if you want to call it mess up, if you will, I think I should have taken a lot more risks. I think I probably stayed a little bit more in my comfort zone, which I should not have. I think I should have taken a lot more risks. And I strongly encourage early in careers to actually take more risk in their career. You can afford it when you are a lot younger than me. I think as you move ahead in life, it becomes difficult. It will never be impossible, and it's always encouraged and it's always helpful, but it's much easier when you're younger and early in your career. And I think taking more risk would have accelerated my career above and beyond. And I think with the little risks I have taken, I think I could have taken a lot more than what I did. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, taking more risks when you're younger.
Absolutely.
Well done. Osama, I would like to be mindful with your time. I know you're busy. It's end of the year. I guess last time you said it's end of the year, you guys are up and running with everything. And so I just want to be mindful with your time. Thank you so much for taking the time, for sharing all your insights and knowledge. Is that okay if I link you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
And then everyone who's watching, is it okay if they send you an invitation or whatever? If they have questions, is it okay if they reach out to you?
Absolutely, with pleasure. Anyone from your side, Lily, thank you so much for the invitation. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this conversation. I hope you did too, and I hope your audience do. I really appreciate everything you do and your organization does. Wish you the best of luck with your trip to the training, and let me know if I can be of any further assistance. Wishing you the best of luck, and thank you so much for the invitation once again.
Thank you.
For more amazing content around sales and personal development, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn.